Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be in the world. Welcome to this new episode of the WPC Inspiration Series. My name is Kylie Lyons, and I am the CEO of the World Photographic Cup, coming to you from my home in Sydney, Australia. And today we are introducing someone on the opposite side of the globe to where I am. I'd like to introduce Dee Potter from Canada. Hello, Dee.
Hi, Kylie. It's great to finally meet you.
I know we've been emailing each other and now we can put faces to names, which is fantastic. I love it.
Fantastic.
So, Dee, you are, well, first of all, you are wearing the fabulous Team Canada jacket. Look at that. You might have to just raise up a little bit. Look, we can see the logo. Look at that. Wow, that's impressive. Team Canada have got a really great structure for getting team members, which we might talk about a little bit later. So obviously you're representing Team Canada this year. Congratulations. But first and foremost, I'm going to ask it in two parts. Give me your 30-second elevator pitch first.
30 seconds. Uh, I got into this a few years ago after spending most of my life as a musician. I got to enjoy, much of the world as a musician, but then I developed a passion for photography along the way. And then just a few years ago, there was suddenly time to learn it. I wasn't able to play, so I grabbed the camera that I had and I went out into the empty streets of Toronto and I captured everything that I thought should practically take themselves, and realized quickly that, well, maybe I have some things to learn. So I doubled down. Like I said, I had the time, so I put my other foot into photography, and I got into a mentorship program, and I studied and I trained and I learned and I did assignments over an 18-month period, where I was being accountable for every one of my assignments. I had to pass them 100% before I would get the next one. So it was quite intensive. And then it led me to travel to get the best from my assignments. And then I started entering those assignments that I was passing in international competitions. And I started doing very well with those. So, all right, I ended up joining the Professional Photographers of Canada. And next thing you know, I am hosting international workshops with other photographers.
Unbelievable. So are you saying this all began around that COVID lockdown period?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yep.
So I'm going to share the screen and I'm going to bring up first and foremost your website.
Mm.
Now, very, very strategic. There's two images right here at the top. So we're looking at dpotter.photography. We've got this image, which is on the right-hand side. That's the image that you are the finalist for. But also this image, which looks like Japan, I'm guessing, that was also part of Team Canada, wasn't it?
It is indeed. Yeah, that was submitted for commercial photography.
There you
And
go.
one of my teammates is a finalist for commercial this year.
Team Canada has done very well. This is true. So this website of yours, Dee, this is all your travel work, or that's
Mhm.
what we're trying to showcase, that you are a kind of travel photographer?
Yes, yeah. I mean, I'm a landscape nature travel photographer, and like I said, coming from Toronto, there's only so many landscapes I can get around here, um, and so I have to venture. I feel compelled to venture far and wide to get the best subjects.
Absolutely. And these are amazing images. It looks like Southeast Asia or something close by.
Vietnam,
Vietnam.
Vietnam. I did an amazing tour through Vietnam. I can't recommend it highly enough for anyone that wants to capture unique images, unique and colorful images like this. Just a wealth of great subjects. I have to go back and there's so much more there to explore.
Absolutely. So you're in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I don't know much about Canada. It's on my bucket list, I will admit. But are there any sort of challenges that Canadian photographers face, or that, where you are located in Toronto, what challenges do you guys face?
Well, for a start, I mean, being in Toronto, we're the largest city in the country. There's a huge wealth of talent here. And so there's a lot of competition that way. But on the world stage, like being in the World Photographic Cup, we have a relatively small population compared to many of the other competing countries, and certainly nothing compared to the superpowers. So we have a smaller pool of people to draw our Team Canada images from. But I got to tell you, we've got some knockout photographers on Team Canada, and
Mm.
I'm proud to be part of them. But the other challenge that Canada has is that we're the second largest country in the world geographically. So even though I'm in Toronto, I can I can get to Iceland easier than I can get to the Rockies, um, even though it's in my own country. So it's spread out. We've got a lot of, amazing places to photograph, but it's not all within everyone's reach, which is why all the smart landscape photographers live out in Alberta and British Columbia.
Right. Okay. But in terms of entering Team Canada, what did you have to do to become part of the team?
Well, being part of Professional Photographers of Canada, I had won a couple of excellence awards, and I'd won best in class for landscape photography last year, which was phenomenal. I was blown away with that. And having those awards, being recognized for those images, there I got free invitations to submit to the World Photographic Cup for Team Canada. So I entered a couple of free photos from that, and then I entered a small group of others, and I actually had five that were considered for Team Canada, and three made it through to the finals. But as you know, we can only represent one category. As a photographer in any one category, there can only be one photographer per image. So I had two that actually went to the finals for commercial, and they had to take what they thought would do the best. Nonetheless, I was incredibly honored to know that there were, I think, 600 images entered, and I'm one of the top 24 that made up Team Canada.
That's amazing. And I'll share the screen,
Mhm.
which will show the image that has made the finals. So, again, is this Vietnam again?
Yes, yeah, that's on the Tubon River, just the river delta downriver from Hoi An, Vietnam.
There you go. Now, we like to have a little bit of insight into the images. And as a photographic judge, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing the repetition of shapes and the beautiful color tones that you've been able to capture. But perhaps could you give us an insight on how you actually captured this image?
Well, this is an image that I mean, it's unique in that it is on the water away from the land, but I was on a riverboat. So when I started on this riverboat, of course, being close to the water, as you can imagine, that net was right up against all of that landscape behind it, which made no sense. So I got up on top of the riverboat roof and began photographing this gentleman as he's doing his dance there, which is actually what brings the fish up onto the net. So I was photographing that, and then I realized that still the top of the net it was still converging with the background, with the landscape. And so I was really enjoying the colors and the tranquil water and the reflection in the water, and I thought that was all wonderful, but I wasn't getting high enough. So I put my camera down and I brought up my drone. and I went up a few feet and until I had some separation between the net, which is called rocho, by the way. Rocho means fishing with a small house. And it separated the rocho net from the background with some water. And so it gave me that clear separation between foreground, middle ground, and background. And also, I also enjoyed this perspective because the net almost looks like it's cradling the land behind it.
So that height has given you that separation. So really, it is much closer to the land than what it actually appears in this photo, from what you're saying.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. So any lower and it then becomes more of a tangled mess. But from this height where I can separate them, it I have now a clearly defined subject, which is why I was very happy with this image and
Mm,
why I decided to submit it.
mm. Now, is this a morning shot or an evening shot?
Oh, 5:42 a.m. Yeah.
Wow.
I was
Now
up at
that's
3:30.
dedication to the craft, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, we knew that this gentleman had apparently been fishing there every day since 1977.
Gosh.
That now that's dedication. I only had to wake up at 3:30 that one morning. And sure, we'd hired a riverboat to get down there and and sure enough by like 5:10, I guess we were in position, and the net was there, but he wasn't quite there yet. So when he came out, then I thought, okay, I'm getting up on the roof because I already knew from some of my test shots with the net that it was still converging with the background.
Mm.
So I got up on top of the boat.
So, was this an actual holiday or was it an assignment that you went to Vietnam? Or you've obviously done a lot of planning to get to this point, but even taking the photograph, again, you've done a lot of planning, you've done a lot of consideration and thinking. So, do you actually go out specifically to shoot these travel images like this?
Absolutely. If you're going to travel distances like that, you kind of want to know what you're getting into or what's possible, at least. I had seen a number of photos from Vietnam through National Geographic and other publications where I was just like, I've got to get there one day. And I had an opportunity to go. And I got onto a tour that took me, with a group of us, that took me from north of Hanoi all the way down here to Hoi An, and seeing all of these iconic places that I'd seen photographs of before, which inspired me. And then I wanted to, kind of recreate them in my own way.
Mm, mm. Now, in terms of editing this image,
Mm.
what did you have to do? Knowing that this is the nature landscape category, and at least in World Photographic Cup terms, there's very little you're allowed to do to an original capture. But what did you actually do in terms of editing or creating this final image?
Well, honestly, very little. The knowing that standard and thinking in World Photographic Cup terms, which is anything in frame, all the pixels in frame have to be as they were captured. They cannot be removed or replaced and so it's the same as if we were submitting film though. If we were submitting a film photograph, then what you captured on that paper or on that film is going to be what is shown. You're not going to remove anything. You can't remove anything. You can't replace anything. So thinking of it that way, all I had to do was I did some basic exposure adjustments, a bit of color correction, and then locally I used, see if I can remember. I used a radial gradient. It's been a bit. I used a radial gradient, I remember, around the middle, so I could raise the shadows and the whites.
Mhm.
Then I selected the sky and brought down the highlights and the exposure just a little bit, just to warm it up and bring out the richness and depth of it. And then I selected the net, and I know I just brought up the yellows in it just a tad, maybe 5, 6 points,
Mm.
just to really give it that clear separation from the blue. And when I did, I realized, oh, I want some more of that reflection shining in the water. So I added a bit of clarity to the water.
Mm.
And after that, it was just a matter of cropping into a 16 by 9 format.
Mm. I mean, you make it sound so simple.
As edits go, I mean that's a short one.
Yeah, yeah. But did it take you, a day, a week? Was it a fast process because you knew what you had in your mind, what you wanted to achieve?
Yeah, no, that this was done in probably 20 minutes.
Well, there you go.
Um, yeah, I mean, I knew how it looked in my mind, and of
Mm,
course, when you see the raw image, as you know, you're not seeing that information, but you do remember what you saw, and
mm,
I do remember clearly that the reflection it got me jazzed. It got me excited. And because the water was so tranquil and had that blue to it that let's honestly in Vietnam that's not altogether normal. A lot of the water there is either green or brown or it's a little more murky than this. So to see that blue, I was so excited. But this is much closer to the China Sea. This is on the delta of the Tubon River. So I guess it's all been more filtered at that point.
mm,
So it was a little bluer. And just to have that blue and gold together, I mean, it's my favorite color combination
mm,
anyway.
mm. That's right. You've got that color mental blank, color harmony. The color
Harmony.
harmony is working so
Yes.
well, and I'm just in awe of the shapes. For me, you've got the shape of the net is reflecting the shape of the conical hat, which is reflecting the shape of the net upside down, and it's all this repetition of shapes, which I think also helps the success. So you've made the finals. We don't know where you're going to be. If people are watching this after the 20th of March in 2025, we will know where this image is placed within the competition. What does it mean to you to be part of Team Canada?
Oh man. I mean, it's about being part of something that's bigger than myself. You know, having my images represent Canada. It's not just about me as in a normal competition. It's about my country, and it carries it doesn't it carries more than just my personal pride. It carries national pride. So I'm and I think that one of the greatest things that we can do, other than for humanity, is to serve our country.
Fantastic. And we had a little conversation before we started recording, and you're saying that, World Photographic Cup is one way we can perhaps heal the world, make it a friendlier place.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was saying to you, Kylie, I was thanking you with the gratitude, the sincere gratitude for carrying on this legacy of bringing the world together through photography. The fact that we do have this platform to represent our country as teams. I've got teammates that many of them I know, some of them I don't yet, and looking forward to. Like I said, we're a big country, so we don't necessarily all get together. But bringing us together, bringing the world together in this sort of peaceful arts harmony, unity. When you get a group of photographers into a room, it doesn't matter what language you speak or what country you come from. We're all enjoying the same thing. We're talking the same language. You come from that same mindset. So giving this dose of much needed peace and unity and harmony right now, I think is it's now more important than ever.
Mm, I can't agree with you more. You were actually lucky enough or clever enough to appear on morning television in Canada. How did that come about?
Um, Funnily enough, I'm also a member of the Canadian International Air Show photography team. So I love aviation photography as well. And I get to do that once a year at the Canadian International Air Show. And while I was there on assignment, I was photographing for breakfast television. Um, and so when they heard that, I was going to be representing Canada at the World Photographic Cup, so come on over, let's chat.
Wow. So it's just happens to be in the right place at the right time. It's all about luck.
Yes, I mean, speaking to the right people at the right time, and yeah, just my my philosophy is if it's not going to hurt anyone, just say yes. Right. I found, this short window of incredible success that I've had. I can't, other than dedicating myself to learning what I'm doing, um, it's elevating all the time because I'm always going just outside of my comfort zone. If somebody says, "Hey, do this you've never done before," I'll go, "Yep, okay, I'll do it." So, like this interview with you, like
Yeah.
that interview on television. I haven't done television interviews other than as part of a band, where I've got other people to speak for me, or, now I'm a solo artist. So it's crazy.
There you go. So, what instrument did you play?
I'm a drummer.
Okay. So, yes, you're in the background. Now you've become the lead singer. I get it.
Exactly.
So, do you enter a lot of competitions worldwide in Canada?
Yeah, well, I mean, right now, we're having the Professional Photographers of Canada National Image Competition is being judged this Friday and Saturday. And I have 4 images there, and I have strategically entered in hopes of being on a finalist, if not winning list, for Photographer of the Year.
Okay. Well, we'll have fingers crossed and love to hear how you go with that. It could be your year. Who knows?
It could be. I mean, so far that's the way it's been. In the last year, I had won 12 major national or international competitions. So um, but this was the crown jewel. Like
Mm.
to hear I'd made Team Canada, and then to hear I was being announced as a top 10 finalist. I mean, just to say I made top 10 in the world. I'm
That's
good.
pretty good. Well, look, I'm just going to grab something for our interview. I'm going to mute myself and hide my camera. I want you to give some advice to photographers who are considering entering any kind of competition.
Mm. Um, when entering a competition, I have to say the number one element has to be your subject. The reason I go so far out of my way to get these subjects, to go to Vietnam or Antarctica or Europe or wherever. I've been to 5 continents in just the last couple of years. The reason I do that is to get the best subjects, to find subjects that I find intriguing and capture them in the best way I can. But if you don't have, if you've got a mundane subject, if you have or a lousy subject, um, it's not going to wow anybody in competition. The ideal is you have a subject that is well lit, well composed, um, well exposed, and well edited to wow judges in international competitions, even local competitions, any competition. But it does start with the subject. You can have the most epic landscape, you can have the most epic sky. Um, but if there's nothing in it that says, "Hey, I'm it. I'm where you need to focus," then you have essentially a background. And this is one of the things that I try and convey to people who come on workshops with me to help them identify a subject, at least identify a foreground, perhaps that could be interesting. It should be an interesting foreground. So you can lead into the beautiful vista in the background. But subject is by far the key that will get you halfway there.
And would you recommend also attending events, attending judgings as well? I think from my experience, you do learn so much from being in the location and hearing what the judges have to say if that's the kind of event you go to.
That's an excellent point. So many competitions, you do not get that opportunity. Wherever you do get that opportunity, dial in to hear what the judges say, or at least pay attention to their comments after the fact if they offer them, if they're giving them to you. We are very lucky. I'm very proud to be chair for Southern Ontario of the Professional Photographers of Canada, because I got into it because the competitions are all judged online. You get to hear them judging blindly. They have no idea whose image they're looking at. They're looking at yours like any other, and they are critiquing. They are saying, this is what's good. This is what I'm missing. This is what's distracting. And every time I get to listen to that, to judges doing this, I'm learning something. I'm going, oh, you know what? I learned just last year, I need a better monitor. Judges were finding little specks of things on clothing that I didn't see because I was editing on my laptop instead of a properly now you've done
Calibrated,
it to me. Calibrated, thank you.
calibrated
A
monitor.
properly calibrated monitor. So I was missing just these fine details that the judges are seeing on these, large 16:9 monitors. And I'm like, shoot. But by listening to the judges, I was able to then identify those are some issues I needed to look at. I corrected them, entered them into another competition, and I got recognized on in a global
There you
photography
go.
award.
There
So,
you go.
and that's
That's
just at a
wonderful.
national level. So
Yeah. So it's amazing that sometimes the smallest detail and the smallest change can make all the difference, I suppose.
100%. But yeah, one of the things about the Professional Photographers of Canada in particular, and there are like 5 professional associations across Canada from which Team Canada draws from. So I'm very honored this year to say that what half of the uh, final set, the 6 of us who made World Top 10 are from PPOC, and 17 out of the 24 were PPOC members, are PPOC members.
There you go.
And it's because we learn to compete because we get to see the judges. We get
Mm,
to compete at a high level and be judged at a high level, and it just makes us better all the time.
mm. And speaking of which, it means you'll be coming to Ecuador with
Yeah,
us, which is
yeah,
exciting.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to seeing Ecuador.
Yeah. I am too, actually. I'm interested in the old town. Are you going to make time to have a bit of a travel holiday at the same time and maybe go and see Galapagos or something?
I would love to be able to go and see the Galapagos Islands. I'm going to have to probably arrange another workshop for that, and bring some photographers with me when I've got more time. But I'll be there for the week of the Zero Expo,
Yeah.
Zero Latitude Expo conference. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I will be seeing you in person. So none of this screen uh, conversations any longer. Now, to finish off our interview, I told you time goes so quickly, and you've been very, very generous with your thoughts and your advice. A last tip, a trick, an idea, a thought provoking message for people watching this video.
Mm, yeah. Get out to where the great photos are, and as I said before, getting to good subjects. And if you haven't already, get yourself some good training or join an organization like the PPOC where you can have your work critiqued without your name on it, without your face in front of judges, to actually hear what emotional impact, what details you can get from them about your work. It makes all the difference. And I got to say, in my few years of doing this to evolve this quickly, I would have to attribute much of it to that.
Well, you're doing something right, obviously. If it's only been a few years, 3 or 4 years that you've been taking photographs, obviously you've got the eye and you've got the training. And I think that's very important. What you said right at the beginning is you went, you did the courses, you did the training, and that can make all the difference sometimes.
Put in the time, put in the work. It's worth it. It's so worth it.
Excellent. I'm going to ask one last little personal question because it's just got me curious. Is
You got it.
Dee short for anything, or your name is Dee? Your mother called you Dee?
Listen, when I got into when I was as a musician, I ended up I was working in Los Angeles, and nicknames were getting thrown around. And Dee Snider from Twisted Sister was a prominent character at the time, and somebody started referring to me as that person. And next thing I knew, a check had been written to me with that name. So I was like, okay, I'll keep it.
So we're going to have to
Listen,
work
my own mother called me D until the day she died because of it.
out. Okay, so we'll leave it at that. We'll hang on that little bit of information. We're going to try and work out what your original name was. So we could be calling you David or Donald or anything.
And I won't answer to any of them. I could be unconscious and you could call me by my birth name and I'd go, I wouldn't wake up.
Who? What? I just say, just you can call me whatever you like. Just don't call me late for dinner. That's
That's
my,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Dee Potter, this has been absolutely fascinating and I appreciate your time greatly. I hope that everything that you've said to us today has, triggered some inspiration in people around the world and they can get out there and go and visit this beautiful planet that we live on. Remember to like and subscribe our inspirational series videos. So as they come online, you will get notification. Dee, we'll put all your details in the description. And I think we should even put that link to the breakfast television interview that you had, because it was a fascinating interview, actually, and interesting for people to look at if they want to go down this path, if they want to try and get promotional PR for themselves and get onto television or radio or whatever it works in their area. It might give them something to think about. So,
Absolutely. And also put in the link to my workshop page or go to my workshop page on my website. I have another workshop about to be announced on there as well. But right now, I have one spot left to come with me in June to Indonesia.
ooh,
And I have next year already organized workshops to Patagonia and Japan. So check out my workshop page on dpotter.photography and come along because honestly, this is where the competition crushing images come from.
absolutely. Good point. We'll put all that information in the notes below. Thank you once again, Dee. Appreciate your time. Like and subscribe. And thanks for joining us on WPC Inspiration Series.